Fast forward to 2027. You open your portfolio and it hits you. 2025. That was the moment. The moment you should have invested, but you didn't. You hesitated, you played it safe, and now you're left wondering, what if I had invested? But while you were waiting, the world didn't. Markets moved, money changed hands, and before you knew it, the moment was gone. And just when you thought things can't get any crazier, Trump might fire Jerome Powell, the man who controls the entire US economy. That wouldn't just rattle Wall Street, it could shake the entire system. We'll come back to that. In this video, I'll show you why all this chaos in 2025 might actually be the biggest buying opportunity of the decade. We'll look at what's happening, what history tells us about fear, and how smart investors move when it feels risky. Because right now, things feel chaotic. Inflation is still high. Groceries are more expensive even if you're buying the same stuff. To fight that, the Federal Reserve is keeping the interest rates painfully high, which means borrowing is tough. Homes, business loans, credit cards, everything's more expensive. Companies are pulling back. Tech giants are laying off thousands of workers. And every time you turn on the news, tariffs. It's like the global trade system is breaking apart. And let's be honest, politics right now feels more like a reality TV show. And the stock market, it's a roller coaster. One day everything crashes, and the next day S&P 500 is up by 3%. Even the good days feel unstable. It makes you wonder, if this is the recovery, what does a real crash look like? And when you live through moments like this, it feels different. This time, it really feels different. But is it though? This feeling of fear, it's always there at the bottom of the market. If this is your first time investing through a crisis, it can feel like the whole trading system is falling apart. But this isn't new. Let's zoom out for a second. In 2008, during the financial crisis, people were terrified. Some of the biggest financial institutions that were considered too big to fail, failed.
Soaring gas prices, falling home prices, and rising unemployment.
What kind of recipe is that? Overall, that's a recipe for a recession.
2008 was a bad dream. It was a bloody year on Wall Street and a real capitulation for...
It felt like the end of capitalism, but that panic, that was the best buying opportunity of a generation. Because since then, the S&P 500 has quadrupled. Then came 2020. COVID hit. The world literally shut down. Everyone thought the market was done for. That was it. I even heard some of my older colleagues say that the market will never recover. But it did. The market bounced back in just a few weeks and then went on a parabolic rise. Millions of new investors jumped in during the COVID lockdown investing frenzy. And I was one of them. It was chaotic, but I learned lessons I'll never forget. And let's go back even further. During the Dotcom crash in the year 2000, tech stocks got decimated. People thought the internet was a scam. Dotcom companies collapsed. Fortunes disappeared overnight. But Amazon survived, Microsoft reinvented itself, and Apple started writing the second chapter of its story during that time. And at that point of time, the ones who invested when everything was going down, they are the ones sitting on huge gains today. And here's the truth. In the middle of every crisis, it never feels like an opportunity. It only feels like an opportunity years later, when the market is already higher than it was before. Now, let's get back to what's playing out behind the scenes. There were rumors that Donald Trump might actually fire Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. Now, it made headlines fast, but legally, it's not that simple. The Fed was designed to be independent. And according to a 1935 Supreme Court ruling, a president cannot just fire the Fed chair unless there's some serious wrongdoing, like corruption or some sort of criminal conduct. In fact, Trump was recently asked about this, and he just brushed it off quickly by saying he won't fire Jerome Powell.
Mr. President, you said...
I don't want to talk about that because I have no intention of firing him.
Mr. President...
But here's the thing, just the talk of it, the tension between politics and the Fed, that's enough to rattle the entire market. Because Powell controls interest rates, and interest rates affect everything. How expensive it is to borrow, how fast businesses can grow, and how attractive the stock market looks. If Powell were ever replaced by someone aggressive about cutting interest rates, then there'll be more money flowing into the market and stocks would go up. But before any of that, The uncertainty of the power struggle could cause a lot of volatility. Markets might swing hard in both directions. And if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for clarity, you might miss the biggest opportunities when they come. Because this year, it's not just about picking stocks. It's about staying level-headed while everyone else panics. So what do you think? Would the market rally if the Fed was more aggressive on rate cuts? Or do you think it would panic first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love to hear everyone's opinions. Here's something I remind myself every time the markets get ugly. Wealth isn't built when everything feels safe. It's built during times exactly like this, when everything is uncertain. If you're waiting for certainty, you'll always be too late. Real investing is uncomfortable, it's emotional, and it's lonely. It feels like stepping into the storm when everyone else is looking for umbrellas. And maybe that's exactly why it works. So let's fast forward again. It's 2027. You're looking back at this chaotic, noisy year and you're wondering, was it all just noise? Or did I miss the moment I was waiting for? Because 2025 will be one of those years people remember. The kind they talk about in movies and documentaries. The year where things changed. So the only question is, what story do you want to tell? One where you froze in fear or one where you made your move? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.